So, since you all loved talking about Spawn Astarion, let's talk about Ascended Astarion. Okay, I'm gonna have to flip this around for a second so that you can actually see it. But I did black and pink this time because that just suits my daddy Dom. Professor Kitera here. Last time, we talked about Spawn Astarion. But this time, we are gonna talk about my one true love, Ascended Astarion. Because as you all know, I'm a sub, and you should be too. I still have the urge to go do. Okay, so this is going to be kind of like it was the last time. We are going to eliminate Tav and Dirge, and we are going to talk about each companion in alphabetical order, to be fair, and tally up points on if they meet the qualifications of what Ascended Astarion needs in a relationship. And did I go full Dom outfit for you today? Why, yes. Yes, I did. But why shouldn't I? I love black and pink. So let's talk about what Ascended Astarion needs in a relationship. All right, so what Ascended Astarion needs is going to be different than what Spawn Astarion needed. Obviously, even though they're still Astarion, they have a very different need set, especially based on how their endings happen. So first, Ascended Astarion is going to need absolute loyalty. I don't mean I'm loyal to you, I'm faithful and monogamous to you. I mean this man needs you to be willing to follow every command blindly. You are sworn to him. He is your world. He is your rock. He is everything you will come back to. He is the axis on which you spin. I'm talking, he put you on a pedestal as his dark consort, and baby girl, for that princess treatment, you better be offering king treatment. That's what I'm saying. Secondly, admiration. He is devoted to you. You're his little treasure. But obviously, he needs admiration in return. Just like surrender is a gift and guidance is a gift, admiration is a gift. And that admiration usually coincides with worship. You get worshipped, you admire. Number 3, and obviously, submission. Just like Spawn Astarion, he is a Dom. He's just a different kind of Dom. He is the classic textbook, oh my god, that's the kind of shit that I write about, Dom. And he needs you to submit. Remember, submission and surrender are a gift. But if you want to be with him, you gotta be willing to give him that gift. But baby girl, have you seen his kisses? Have you seen that hand necklace? Have you seen that little lip bite? It's a fair trade. God, I'm being a little feral in this one. And number 4, he needs you to love him exactly as he is. And when I say that, I don't mean the classic, cute romance, oh, I love you for who you are, sweetheart. I mean, you need to not try and change this man. Do not try and change him. Do not try to make him better. Do not try to make him the hero. He is a villain. He loves you anyway because you can be a villain and still love someone because you don't have to be good to love someone. There's this thing called nuance. And besides, a very well-written dark character is not going to have a full redemption arc. They're still going to be evil and have the space to be evil and do evil things, while at the same time being willing to burn the world down for you. Remember that audio from last time that Aronkai did?
So you love him because he's a hero? Let me tell you something about heroes, princess. A hero would sacrifice you for the greater good. I have no such compunction. I would burn this world for you.
You tell me that Aronkai and Dre Tamashi do not have the hottest voices in the entire world. And if you say they don't, you're fucking lying. And finally, number 5, devotion/possession. And the reason why I say /possession is because last time when we talked about devotion, we meant that you didn't put a god above him. However, this time we mean that he owns you like he's your god. Because, babe girl, he might as well be the god of all vampires. And I might have some character creation understanding of that. Just like last time, alphabetical order. This might actually be a shorter video because I don't have to think about what I'm gonna say too much before I say it this time, because we all know that I'm Astarion's girlfriend and I'm Ascended Astarion's girlfriend. I am that crazy vampire lady. I am that sub-dom queen. I am the girl who made the video on Vampire Bride. So obviously, I already know all of the arguments because I have to make them on a daily basis when I defend my Pookie, okay? So let's talk about Gale. Quick refresher, Gale has multiple endings. However, in this case, we will not be including any Squidward endings because Ascended Astarion will break up with you if you become a squid. He might want to help rule the city with you, but he will break up with you if you become one. So we can't include squid in any of these. And I wish I thought of that in the last episode because that would have saved us a bunch of time. But we would have been robbed of those really funny Squid Game jokes. All right, Gale has two endings in this case. He has Gale, the god of ambition, who's an absolute jackass, but the most wizardy wizard thing I have ever seen in my entire life. And then we have number two, who is Professor Dekarios. And he is the better version of Gale. Would Gale be able to give absolute loyalty to Ascended Astarion? I do not think God Gale would. Why? Because God Gale has given himself complete loyalty to himself. He is an entitled jackass. He set out to become a god so that he could give the people all of the things gods are denying them, so that he could be the god who actually helps.
But what if we didn't need them? What if we wielded their power instead and helped ourselves in all the ways they refused to? I don't want to join them, I want to better them. A god's powers paired with a mortal conscience, a mortal heart.
And then he doesn't. He became the god of ambition. He's like, I just let you do it yourself. Worship me and then you can do it yourself.
I offer them nothing. I inspire them to seize their destinies for themselves.
Undermining the entire reason you wanted to be a god, sir, which means he is loyal to only himself. So unfortunately, God Gale, you don't get this point. You don't get this point. Let's talk about Professor Dekarios. So, would Professor Dekarios be able to have complete loyalty to Ascended Astarion? This is a little bit more complicated. I think, ultimately, it is going to depend on how you built your Gale in the game. If you have built a Gale who never defies Mystra, like he never makes a shadow lantern, he very quickly agrees to give her the crown, he does all of the right things, then absolutely not. That Gale is not going to make that decision. He doesn't approve of you ascending in the first place. He is ostensibly going to be against everything that Ascended Astarion stands for. However, if your Gale is the one who made the shadow lantern, who contemplated becoming a god of ambition and ultimately decided not to, I think that Professor Dekarios could be loyal to Ascended Astarion. And I think the reason why he could be loyal to Ascended Astarion is because he has been loyal other people in a similar position. He was loyal to Mystra even when she said, oh, I want you to kill yourself. And that was not just because she was his god. It was because he had complete faith in her, because she was also his lover. You don't just magically stop loving someone after a year. Like, love takes a long time to die, which means that he's still listening to her to an extent because he loves who she is, not just loves magic. Also, Gale was against it because we were sacrificing 7,000 souls. I don't think he would hold that against us forever. And here's the reason why I think that. Fingers crossed, I'm going to, at some point, be able to get into an essay where I talk about the actual ethics of the sacrifice ritual, not from the perspective of what I think is ethical because I'm biased, but from the perspective of what each of the different alignments would think. Because a lawful good would probably kill all 7,000 spawn. Gale is a neutral. He is a true neutral, which means that his ideology is about balance. Now, he as a person tends to like to do the right thing and help people because he finds balance in love and compassion. However, that doesn't mean that he couldn't be convinced that the sacrificing of those spawn was going to bring balance, safety, and compassion to others, because they would basically be feral creatures, which is why someone who's either a neutral or a lawful good like Will wouldn't want you to set them free. Although, they also wouldn't want you to do the ritual to begin with. I also think that because Gale wants to collect the crown and become a god, even if he gets talked out of it, which he would in this version of him, he understands the allure of power. And I think that given time, he would come to terms with why Astarion wanted it, especially given Ascended Astarion does not stay that horrible, evil jackass version of himself that he was. See the video that I just released on magical psychosis if you want to understand more about that situation and why it happens that way. So I do think that Professor Dekarios would be able to be loyal to Ascended Astarion. So he can get this. Let's talk about admiration. Again, I think this is going to depend on which Gale it is. God Gale does not admire, love, or respect anyone except for himself. Even though he offers to take you to Elysium forever, it's very clear that he just loves his fucking self, okay? I don't like him. And I don't like him because he became the gods that he fought against. And what do gods in D&D do? They love themselves more than you. Except for Corellin. Corellin, you're perfect. I'm not an elf at all. You can't tell because I got the human ears, but I'm not an elf at all. Now, Professor Dekarios. I absolutely do think that Professor Dekarios could give you admiration. Why? Because that's how he acts. That's his love language. He is a worshipful person. He admires whoever he ends up with. If you're Tab and you end up with him, he admires you. He lets you have everything that you basically want in life. He wants to get married and spend forever with you. He's constantly talking about how great you are at everything. When you're going through the story with him and you have this magical encounter, he praises how well you do at magic, even if you're not doing that well at it because you're not a magic caster. He literally has moments where he walks up to you and he's like, oh, the thing with the book, where he's like, I read about dirty books. And you can say, oh, I haven't read them, I could write them. I say that. But obviously he's always admiring you, always flattering you, always having something great to say about you. So I do think he very clearly has this. It is in his DNA. It is who he is as a person. So again, Professor Dekarios can have this. I do know what I want to say for each character, but I still don't know what the tallies are actually going to be. So if you're watching right now, when I'm done giving you this instruction, you'll pause, go down into the comments and write who you think is the perfect match for Ascended Astarion. I'm curious. Let's talk about submission. So you know what I'm gonna say then. I'm assuming you watched the other video already. He is not a sub. Would he be willing to do the things you want in bed? Yes, but that is not the same as being a sub. He is not a man of surrender. He is a man who likes to lead situations but not dominate them. He is neither a sub, switch, nor dom. He is not in that kink at all. He is very kinky, but that is not his kink. So neither of them can get this point. Okay. Love me as I am. Do I think that God Gale can love Astarion as he is? Yes. What is more ambitious than wanting to essentially become a god of all vampires? And what is he if not god of ambition? Clear yes. No debate, no extra arguments, no need to dissect it because it's very, 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 very ambition based. However, let's talk about Professor Dekarios. Professor Dekarios, I don't think that at first he wants to love you as you are. He definitely sees the ritual as something that was done that was evil and it sacrificed a lot of lives and he's not okay with it. But. I think as Ascended Astarion starts to calm down and prove that he did learn something from this, that he's not in a magical psychosis anymore, that he's not going to be evil, because he does mellow out as it continues. I do think that he would be able to love him as he is. That as long as he didn't lose his connection to magic, that he would be okay with turning. Because of all of the people, Gale would be one of the ones who would actually know about the Dark Kiss. He would know about becoming a vampire bride, or Larian goes with Dark Consort, which makes sense because remember, a consort by definition is the spouse of a monarch or a god who has no political power. Anyone who gets married who did not already hold a higher title is a consort. So like you marry a king, say you are a princess and you marry a king. That does not automatically make you a queen unless he gives you power. It makes you a queen consort or a queen's consort, depending on the language. So Larian went with consort because it's more gender neutral than bride, even though bride is used gender neutrally. And this has been Professor Kitera telling you a bunch of stuff that ADHD Rambos that you just didn't need to know. So yes, I do think that Gale can love you as you are. I think one of his best qualities is the ability to meet people where they're at and to love them and care about them for who they are. I mean, if he's not going to hate Minthara, he's not going to hate you. And finally, devotion and possession. I do think that Gale would have no problem being devoted to Ascended Astarion, and he would have no problem. Again, we're talking human Gale. Professor Dekarios would have no trouble being devoted to Ascended Astarion. He would have no trouble being in a position where he would give his whole life to him, to be there with him, to do the things he wants to do, to see through all of the goals and aspirations that his partner has, because I think he would do that for any partner. And in the same vein, I don't think that Ascended Astarion would want to keep Gale from his goals and aspirations. I mean, he might not end up in the same position, like he might not end up being in Waterdeep, being a professor at Blackstaff Academy, but he'd still let him chase all of his goals and aspirations in life, because he lets you, because if you go to the Hells of Karlach, or you go off with Lae'zel and Orpheus, he doesn't stop you, he encourages you, he tells you that you should see the world because you have eternity together.
Oh, my dear, you didn't leave me. I let you go. If I'd have wanted you to stay, I only had to say the word, and you would have been back by my side. But I'm not some controlling monster. I wanted to give you space to see what else is out there. Make your own mistakes, and return to me, ready to fully appreciate our life together. Then get back to burning your path across the plains. And once you're done, you'll return to take your place at my side. And this world will tremble before us. Until then, my love.
So he would do the same thing for Gale. God Gale, on the other hand, the problem child. He is devoted to himself. There is no one higher on his pedestal than him. He doesn't care about anything but himself. So, human Gale can get this point, but God Gale cannot get this point. And that leaves human Gale with 4 points. It's actually a pretty steady lead for Gale. That is a pretty steady lead for Gale, because I have a feeling a lot of people are not going to have enough points with Ascended Astarion, because he is particular. He is a particular kind of character, and you have to be a particular kind of character to want to be with him. Particular. Let's move on to Daddy Halsin. And we all know I love a good Daddy Halsin. However, I don't think Halsin is gonna... My prediction is Halsin's not gonna do very well, but we're gonna go through the steps and we're gonna find out together. I don't think that Halsin would offer him absolute loyalty. I think that because Halsin has some very strong opinions around the ritual, and he has some very strong opinions around Spawn in general. Like, he doesn't think that we should let the Spawn go. He thinks we should kill them. But he also doesn't think that Astarion should have that much power, because that much power in one person is imbalance. And he is very much so, everything needs to have balance. So I do not think that, given his ideologies and beliefs in the world, that Halsin would be able to offer Astarion loyalty to his cause, his plight, his life. I really don't. I even think if you go the Ascended Astarion path and you have a poly relationship with Halsin, that it would realistically affect your relationship with Halsin too. That you stayed with Astarion. So I can't give Halsin that point. Which, could he offer Astarion admiration? Again, he's not okay with who Astarion became. He sees Astarion as a blight on nature, as like a shadow druid. He would see them. He chose more power than is realistic, and threw the balance of nature off, then no one should have that much power or control. He also would not allow Astarion to have that much power or control over him. He would never be willing to turn into a vampire. So realistically, the fact that he would never be willing to turn into a vampire would automatically make him, now that I'm thinking about it, he would absolutely refuse to turn into a vampire. I have not played Ascended Astarion and romanced him, so I don't know if you can actually make him do it, but he would not choose to do that on his own at all. Like in a realistic run, he would not choose to do that. So given that he is not going to be willing to transform into a vampire at all, his character is very clear that he's not okay with your relationship dynamic. He's not okay with you having been turned. He's not okay with him having all that power.
To give oneself wholly and to have a lover totally in your thrall? A harmless game until it becomes real. I worry for the two of you, Astarion. For your sake, I hope some of it is just a fantasy, deep in your heart.
Must you take everything so seriously? We're both happy with our arrangement, and that's all that matters.
He would not have a relationship with Ascended Astarion. So realistically, I think that we could take him off the board. Daddy Halson, lead it to the fetus. Let's talk Karlach. Karlach only really has one ending that we can even consider here. We're not going to consider Squid Karlach because Ascended Astarion, if you were playing as an origin, is going to break up with anyone who becomes a squid. He breaks up with Squid Tab as well. We can't accept dead Karlach because she's dead, which only leaves Karlach going to the Hells. So here's the thing. When you're playing as an origin, you can make him do whatever you want to do, but we're looking at this as if it was actually him making his own choices, not you playing as an origin. He does not want to go to the Hells as Ascended Astarion. That's fairly clear. If you want to go, he won't go with you. He'll let you go, but he doesn't want to go with you. He wants to build his kingdom.
You know, now that our enemies have fallen, I might be the most powerful person in the world. And as you're my consort, that makes us the most powerful people in the world. We will need to be careful, of course. There are still powerful forces in the city. We can start slowly, quietly, charming and manipulating key figures, building up our network of puppets. Before long, we'll have our hands on every string in the city, and they will dance however we tell them to. We have a beautiful, bloody future to look forward to, my love.
He wants to reclaim what was taken from him. Karlach can't live outside of the Hells, which means that the only version of Karlach that would be dateable, he can't have a relationship with. He would have to break up with her. And honestly, I think that really sucks because I think that he would have tried to make her a dark consort.
Editing Kit here. This is going to be a little bit hard for you to watch. So if you don't want to have your heart absolutely broken by Astarion because his heart is absolutely broken, you've been warned.
On your knees, darling. No! Ah! Ah! How dare you? How could you? I was trying to help you, but you're beyond help! Get away from me! Get out of my sight! And what makes you think I have anything to say to you? I tried to give you a gift, and you rejected me. Not just you, your whole body.
But I don't think that being a dark consort would have solved her problems. Otherwise, everyone would just solve her problem that way. So she's still going to have to go to the Hells, which means that he's going to break up with her when she goes to the Hells to stay alive. So again, like I said, it's going to be hard to do Ascended Astarion because he has such a particular need set and has so many reasons and ways that he can break up with someone over that there's just going to be people who get knocked completely off the board. And Karlach is one of those people that's going to be knocked completely off the board. So let's talk about Lae'zel. Lae'zel has two story endings that would be possible here. We have her story ending where she goes with Orpheus, or she replaces Orpheus and she goes on a quest to save her people. Then we have the story ending in which she stays in Faerun with you because you won the dice roll. Once again, this is a character who is leaving Baldur's Gate forever. And Ascended Astarion is not willing to leave Baldur's Gate because he wants to rebuild in Baldur's Gate and take the city, then the world.
Editing Kit here. So I know that there are versions of endings with him where you can get him to leave Baldur's Gate and go with you, but they're hard to get. So they're therefore not his true personality. They are mechanically there to make sure the game doesn't break.
Which means Ascended Astarion would break up with Orpheus Lizelle. She's off the table. You see now why I started with Spawn Astarion, because it would be a longer video. There would be a lot more information in it. Even though Ascended Astarion is my man, I needed to do the longer one first for this series to make sense. Would Faerunian Lizelle offer Ascended Astarion complete loyalty? Yes, I do think that she would. And I think that she would because she likes to align herself with power. But she also hasn't really broke that militaristic cult mindset yet. Think about it. When she no longer wants to worship Vlaakith because she realized that Vlaakith is evil, what did she automatically do? She instantly became aligned with Orpheus and Orpheus's teachings and his doctrine.
Shma Salah Orpheus, Ma Stilna Forgin in Yeri. Orpheus's will above all. May the comet blaze my path forward.
She instantly gave up on Vlaakith when Vlaakith turned out to be evil. She turned around and essentially dedicated her entire life to Orpheus, his teachings, his ideas, his mantras. Complete 180, right? She never took time to think about what she wanted, think about what was best. She just went to the next person in power. This is going to apply to Ascended Astarion as well. When she no longer has Orpheus as her center of power because she chose to stay in Faerun, she's going to align herself with the next leader, militaristic kind of power. And that's going to be Ascended Astarion. Honestly, they'd be kind of a low-key power couple in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. So, Faerunian Lizelle could have this one. Okay, now let's talk about admiration. You might think, if you've never romanced Lizelle before, you might be under the impression that she would not have admiration for you. But this is not true, because her entire storyline has a very aromantic spectrum kind of feeling, in the way that someone who is demisexual can only feel sexuality or sexual attraction towards someone that they have a deep emotional connection with. Lizelle is on the arom spectrum. So she's aromantic. She does not feel a romantic connection with people until she's built an emotional connection with them.
Editing kit here. So I keep saying only aromantic here, but I forgot to say that I meant demi-romantic, which is on the aromantic spectrum.
Which is why she's able to be intimate with you, but it takes a while for her to realize that she actually has feelings for you. And when those feelings happen, she's confused and angry and conflicted about them. I'm not saying that she is aromantic. She's just on that spectrum somewhere. Or at least the way her story plays out is on that spectrum. For her, she's devoted to you after that point. Your kisses change, they're romantic, you're always putting your heads against each other. She has that whole sunset scene with you later after the whole arc with Vlaakith. She is incredibly devoted to you as a character if you have romanced her. You are her whole fucking world. So if she's romanced Ascended Astarion, guess what? You are going to be her whole fucking world. Which means that Faerunian Lizelle can have this point. Now let's talk about submission. Absolutely the fuck not. Absolutely the fuck not. My girl is a little dumb. She might have a switch moment here or there because you can choose to take charge in her first romance scene, but my girl is a little dumb. D-O-M-M-E. It's why she is the girl character that I like to romance. Let's talk about Loving Me As I Am. Absolutely. Lizelle is a lawful evil character. She would absolutely love Ascended Astarion as he is. She would absolutely be okay with him wanting to take power so that he can have control over the things that he does. Whether she approves of the decision or not, she would ultimately be okay with the outcome of it. Because again, she is a lawful evil, and what he did was a very lawful evil thing to do. So in this assumption, we would not turn Lizelle into a good guy, but we would break her chains with Vlaakith. So Lizelle would still be a lawful evil, which would make her like Ascended Astarion just the way that he is. So she can have this point. Let's talk about devotion and possession. While I do think that she would be someone who would give him adoration, I do not think she would be devoted to him. She would follow him. She'd be loyal to him and his cause. But the kind of devotion that comes from possession is not a devotion that's like, oh, I love you, I'm a doting wife. No. It's like, I will surrender to you, your will, your needs, your wants. I will worship at your feet. And I do not think Lae'zel is capable of that with someone else. I think she can have that feeling as far as like following orders, but even when she's following orders, she's not a fall to my knees, worship at your feet, I will submit, I will surrender kind of person. So I don't think that because she can't surrender, she also can't have that kind of surrendering devotion because she isn't a submissive person. So unfortunately, I cannot give her this point, which means Faerunian Lae'zel is at 3 points. And Gale knocks her off the table. Let's talk about Minthara. Will Minthara give absolute loyalty? No. She has her own goals. She has her own desires. She is not going to be beholden to whatever it is you want. I don't care if the mechanics make her end the story however you want to end the story. We've all met the same Minthara, and she is going to do whatever the fuck she wants. Okay? We know it. She's going to do whatever the fuck she wants. So she can't have that point. Now, admiration. I do think Minthara can offer you admiration. Minthara is already a very adoring person. Think about that cute little scene you get where she has like the poison kiss. She can offer you admiration. She's already very admiring of you. I just don't think it's soft admiration. It is earned admiration and respect. But she can have that point. Let's talk about submission. We talked about this last time. If you are a male character, she actually has a very submissive scene with you. And she is more likely to submit to the things that you want and the guidance that you have as a character, which again is a fascinating look into her mind because it's very against Lothite tradition. We've already established in the last episode that she is submissive when it comes to men. So obviously she got that point there. She can have that point here. Do I think that Minthara can love him as he is? Yes. Again, Minthara is evil. She has a lot of aspirations in life, and she would absolutely love this man as he is. This man is all of the things that she would want in a partner. He is the absolute power couple dynamic that she deserves, and he would want to take over the absolute. They would take it over together. They would rule this fucking world together if they had an evil ending. 100% she loves him as he is. I get so sassy when this is in my hand. So sassy. Devotion and possession. Now, while I do think that Minthara is a submissive, I do not think that she is a full surrender submissive. I think that she is submissive in a lot of ways that matter, but I don't think that she would be the kind of sub who is 100% devoted to you. Like, she would submit to you, but she wouldn't surrender to you. She would still want control over herself, her life, her thoughts, her feelings. She would not worship at your feet like you were a god. She would not give you king treatment, but she would damn well expect some princess treatment. So I cannot give her this point. Which means she has 4 points, and she is tied with Gale. Let's talk about Shadowheart. Shadowheart has 3 distinct endings that we'll be talking about. The first one is Dark Justiciar Shadowheart. Obviously, she becomes a Dark Justiciar. The second is going to be Adventurer Shadowheart, where we typically call her Selûnite Shadowheart, but she doesn't really become a Selûnite, where she kills her parents and she becomes an adventurer. And then we have the final ending, which is Family Shadowheart, where she chooses to stand up against Shar, say, fuck you, bitch, you can't control me, and chooses to stay with her family, even though it means she'll be in agony for the rest of her life. So I think the most important thing that we have to talk about first is Dark Justiciar Shadowheart. I think Ascended Astarion would have no problems wanting to be in a relationship with My dog is howling. You want to know why my dog was crying? She crawled out from under her blanket in the other room to stretch and could not get back under it. And she is such a spoiled princess, just like her mommy. I love her so much. But you know what? She is spoiled. Because guess what? We have the same daddy. And he spoils us. We need to start with Dark Justiciar Shadowheart. Although I think that Ascended Astarion would be perfectly happy having a relationship with her, she does not want to have a real relationship. I don't think that we can include her in this set because he wants to bind your soul to his forever. He wants to make you his dark consort. He wants to do the dark kiss. He wants you to be his forever. And she is Char's. It's not going to happen. Not realistically. Not when they're the actual characters with their own autonomy. So we're going to have to take DJ Shadowheart off the table, which sucks because she's one of the few people that genuinely approves of you ascending. That leaves Adventurous Shadowheart and Family Shadowheart. So let's talk about absolute loyalty. She would not offer this to him as either of those paths, because in both of those paths, she has chose to become a good character and she's not okay with what he's done, and she doesn't think that it's the appropriate way for him to heal. That's where she and I differ as a character. Long dark hair and religious trauma and sass are all we have in common. She's also very submissive. We have that in common, but submissive in like a bratty way. So she cannot have this point for loyalty. Same with admiration. I think she would admire a partner that she respected and was loyal to, but I don't think that she respects or admires Ascended Astarion. I don't think that she's okay with what he did in any way, shape, or form. That she sees him as giving in to Char, like the vampire equivalent of that. So let's talk about submission. Normally, I would just kick her off the table right now, but technically, she does fit at least one of these, and he wouldn't break up with her. So she is submissive. She's a bratty submissive, but she's definitely submissive. She likes it when you lead in the scenes with her romantically, even if she initiated them. And she even expects you to read her body language and know when it's appropriate to kiss her. That is the most subby thing I have heard in my life as a sub. So she can have this point for both versions of her. Could she love him as he is? Again, no. Because she is not okay with what he is. And just like because she's not okay with what he is, even though she's a sub, she also wouldn't be devoted to him. So ultimately, she only has 1 point. And that means that Gale and Minthara knock her off the table. Last, but certainly not least, because he my secondary, he my love, he my guy. I like him, I love him, I want some more of him. Please, some more story, please, I want some more of him. Will has 3 stories that we're going to talk about. He has the Blade of Avernus, in which he goes to Avernus to fight devils. He has the Blade of Frontiers, in which he stays in Faerun as the Blade of Frontiers. And he has the Duke path, where he stays in Baldur's Gate and is a Duke. Right off the bat, we got to discuss the Blade of Avernus. Just like with Karlach, Astarion is not going to go into the Hells. He wants to be in Baldur's Gate so he can rebuild his life. He's also not going to want to go gallivanting around being an adventurer. So both the Blade of Avernus and the Blade of Frontiers would by default be off the table because they would have to give up themselves and their life goals to be with him. Let's talk about Duke Will. Would Duke Will have absolute loyalty to Astarion? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He is not okay with the Ascension at all. And not just because of the power imbalance or the fact that he thinks that it is incredibly evil and diabolical to get there, but because it involved a devil. I think it's important to note that Astarion did not sell his soul to Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles created a new monster, but the 7,000 souls were the price. They all belonged to Mephistopheles. They were all sold to Mephistopheles, but the ascended vampire was not. So I cannot give Will this first point. Let's talk about admiration. Once again, like with Shadowheart, if you don't feel loyal and love for that person, how can you admire them? So admiration and devotion and love me as I am would all be off the table as well, which leaves the topic of submission. And while Will is absolutely the kind of person who he would absolutely submit to you. I don't think he is a sub. I think he falls into like just a general category, but he would absolutely submit if that's what his partner wanted. So like Shadowheart, he can have that point, but he'd still be knocked off the table because it's only 1 point. Which means that now we have a tie and we have to ask ourselves, Minthara's story and Professor Dekarios' story, who could actually work with Ascended Astarion? Realistically, let's compare Minthara and Gale. Professor Dekarios, he 100% could have a wonderful life and still achieve all of his goals in Baldur's Gate. Minthara wants to go back to the Underdark. She wants to reclaim everything that was lost. She wants to rebuild her relationship and her people. Would Ascended Astarion be willing to go into the Underdark and do that with her? No, he wouldn't. So unless you did the evil ending where you took over the Elder Brain, Minthara wouldn't make sense for Ascended Astarion, because she would want to leave him permanently, which means that the only person who realistically, oh, not to mention, she no longer wants to be a Lothite. She has left Lolth. If you haven't seen my Viper series, followers of Lolth actually have a very strong connection to vampires, specifically vampire drow, but vampires in general. And it is considered the kiss of Lolth to become a vampire. That is actually the name for a vampire drow, is someone who received the kiss of Lolth. It is a goal that people have. It is the entire driving force in Viper's story. So canonically, she also would not want to become a vampire. One, she wouldn't want to be a vampire bride or a vampire spawn because she would never want to be controlled again because of what happened with the tadpole and Orin. But also, she would not want to be a vampire, even a true vampire, because she would not want to have that association and closeness with Lolth, because she hates Lolth now. She doesn't want to be a part of that part of her past. So Minthara essentially has nothing in common with Ascended Astarion. Their relationship would fundamentally not work, which means that even though she meets all of those points, her actual story pushes her out when it comes to a tie, which means that the perfect person for Ascended Astarion of our origins is Professor Dekarios. If you are a Bloodweave girly and you want to see Gale on his knees, you're right. You are correct. And right here is what YouTube thinks that you want to see most next. But if what you really want is to be railed by 5 hot vampires, chased down in your own house, and have that kitten licked until you scream, my books are right here. And I'll see you next time, darling.